Welcome back everyone to another video. And I wanted to cover this video because I feel like every other property YouTuber is covering something about the Middle East war or about AI when it comes to related to property. But I want to talk something that's going to affect landlords here and right now, and especially landlords in Victoria. So if you haven't seen the latest media release from the Victorian government, they have released new policies on the 28th of March of 2026. Now we have known this has been coming for a little bit, but they released a statement saying they're making renting fairer and more affordable for tenants, which is absolutely fine. But they don't really think about the consequences it's having on landlords. And so I'm going to break it down for you in this video. And we're going to go through this document right here. And if we scroll down to the section where it says from Tuesday, 31st of March of 2026, rental providers and agents will be required to use a standard form for all rental applications. Applicants can only be asked to provide the information listed in the standard application form. It will now be an offense for renters to be charged fees by rental apps and platforms. Now, those first 3 points will not affect landlords too much. It's generally just some couple of changes that will affect how renters are asked to submit forms, what sort of fees they can be charged, etc. And it's not going to be too damaging to the landlord. However, the one that we are all concerned about and the one that we should be concerned about is that agencies will also be able to consider additional factors when determining if a rent increase is excessive. Now, this one is a problem because this is becoming an effective or the first stepping stones towards rental caps on investment properties. And if for those of you who don't understand why this is a little bit of a problem, when you start to put rental caps or you start to try control rent increases on a landlord, it can affect the profitability and the ability to service that loan for that investment property. Now, someone might say, well, if you're able to afford an investment property, then who cares? But what people do not actually understand is that if landlords cannot increase the rents in a way that they can be able to afford their investment property, then they will look to sell that asset and that will go back onto the market. Now, if that goes back onto the market, that means that takes off one rental property off the market, thereby increasing pressure on the entire rental market and hence making it harder for renters to find a property to actually live in. Now, someone is also going to say, but hey, if there's one more property on the market, that means an owner occupier could buy that property. While that is true, not every renter can actually afford to buy a house. And that is the truth of it. Not everyone can service a mortgage of $1 million. Not everyone can service a mortgage of $700,000. They don't have the deposit for that property. Now, I do want to go a bit deeper into what this statement actually means. And when you start to scroll back and you look at the other links provided by the Victorian government, you look at the rules for increasing rent and you start to scroll down. The 4 common methods for calculating a rent increase. And these are done by according to how much prices are generally changing in the economy, known as CPI. So that possibly means that rent increases can be capped by CPI. Another method, according to average rent prices in Victoria, known as the Metropolitan Rent Index or the Regional Rent Index. Now, when you start to look at this, it doesn't seem too bad, but it can depend quarter to quarter as well as annual changes across regional and Melbourne. And you can see around 3%, 4%, etc., which again isn't too bad, but it shouldn't be capped necessarily by that amount. And then we can have a look here. By fixed percentage rent increase, a percentage should be specified, example 3%, 4%, or by a fixed dollar amount, a dollar amount should be specified, example 10, $20, etc. And so you start to scroll down and then you look at the examples of invalid and valid wording of how you can actually increase your rents. Invalid wording is rent increase by dollar amount. Now, the other one is based on the rental market valuation. Now, this is the one that I have the biggest problem with because a lot of the times the way we calculate rent increases is actually based on the market valuation. Now, for example, if there are 50 properties listed for $500 per week on the rental market, no landlord will put the rent up to $700 per week. They are just absolute spastics if they do that. And if they do that, no one will rent their property. They're most likely going to put the property up for rent for $510, $520, $490, depending on their property compared to other properties. And this is the way the free market works. One of the best ways to actually increase your rents or keep your rents the same is through rental market valuation. And that is now an invalid wording, which makes little to no sense to me. And then we have a look at some of the valid wording examples. The next rent increase will be by 1.8% in line with CPI increase as reported by the ABS of September of 2025 quarter. So this is an effective measure where we are capping rents by the CPI. Now that doesn't include, things like factoring in the landlord's maintenance costs, the interest rate rises, the loan serviceability, the bank fees, etc. There is so much that goes into being able to manage, hold, and run an investment property successfully and properly, and then to be only capped by CPI, which may not be in line with the market valuation. It could be well under market value of rent in that area, which is a real problem. Then landlords are being shortchanged and they may not be able to hold the investment asset. Now, the next one is the rent increase will be by $20 in line with statewide rent increase for June of 2025 quarter. Now, once again, this makes little to no sense. Every single market works on its own dynamics. Some markets rents explode, some markets rents don't explode, and in some markets I have seen in Melbourne rents go backwards. And so when you're trying to apply a measure statewide, it does not allow for the natural market dynamics to play out in itself. And that once again is fundamentally in some way a rent cap, and it's going to hurt landlords and hurt renters in that location as well. And so this is effectively the biggest issue I have with this whole new policy around rental reform in Victoria, where they are trying to effectively cap rents to make it more acceptable for renters. Now, don't get me wrong, I try to be as great as a landlord as possible. In fact, in some of my rental properties in the last 24 months, I have not increased rents for them because they are good tenants. They are good tenants and good people. And I want them in my investment property for as long as possible, where it can make financially sense for me not to increase rents for them and be able to service my loan. Because I genuinely love good people in my properties because they take care of them. But the people that are going to be hurt the most by this new standard is the fresh investors who've bought in Victoria. And please don't get me wrong, I have been an advocate for investment into Victoria because there was incredible value 18, 12 months ago. And even now, we are still getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of worth of capital growth in this location across the state, across suburbs. However, it is going to hurt those investors who have just bought because they are buying on lower yields and they're buying on higher property values. And now they can't even increase their rents to be reflective of market value or being capped by CPI, which is super duper annoying. And then you find that businesses found in breach of these laws can now be faced fines of $12,000 and individuals face fine of $2,400. Now, once again, that is a slap in the face for landlords in Australia. Now, I'm not going to harp on this point any longer because this already sucks. And if you didn't know as well, Victoria has recently brought in minimum standards, which I think is actually a pretty good thing for tenants and for landlords to uphold their property. And there are a bunch of minimum standards that landlords need to meet. They need to make sure their showers meets 3-star efficiency. They need to make sure their rental properties have modern switchboards with circuit breakers and electrical switches installed in it. Then you have also heating requirements in that location to make sure there's heating and cooling in your property. There are kitchen standards that need to be met. There's laundry standards. And by the way, you can read all of this by following this website for you guys, so you know that there are minimum standards that need to be met for rental properties in Victoria. And this was introduced in 25th of November 2025. If you already have got an investment property, usually what happens is when you re-advertise your property, then you have to meet those rental standards for it to be advertised again. But for those buying investment properties now and are looking to tenant out their property, you need to meet these rental standards. So it's incredibly important that you guys, when you're purchasing an investment asset in Victoria, that you talk to a property manager, that you go through the property and that you understand what needs to be done to that property to get it up to minimum rental standards. This is really important, by the way, because oftentimes you go out and you'll look to buy an investment property and you'll find old properties like this that are very affordable to purchase. But then you need to look through the asset. This is a very old home. It was probably owner occupied for a really long time. Does this meet the rental standards minimum that you need to have so that it can get tenanted out as soon as possible? If not, then you need to walk through with the property manager and look through this property and make sure every single one of these checklists is identified so that you can actually advertise your property. Because if you don't meet those standards, then your property will sit vacant while the work gets done, and that means a more hit on a cash flow for you as an investor. And so if you are investing in Victoria in today's time, you need to manage a couple of things. You need to be able to manage cash flow properly locally in Victoria. Number two, you need to make sure that your property meets the minimum standards for actually renting your property out. And you need to have a buffer for that as well. And number three, you have to be prepared for the Victorian government to screw you over with more rental laws and have buffers for that as well. Because while I do have investment properties in Victoria, they do make it incredibly difficult as a landlord to effectively run an investment property at a break-even cost. Now, what does that mean for the wider property market? Do I think house prices are going to crash? I don't think so. Do I think there's going to be a max exodus for investors out there? Not necessarily, but every single investor will now reassess their portfolio and look at their investment assets in Victoria and determine whether or not it makes financial viable sense for them to hold that asset in this state. And I do think they will hold it because there is capital growth further to come over the next 6 to 12 months. And for a lot of investors who have recently bought, well, they've paid stamp duty and a lot of conveyancing costs and settlement costs. So they need to recoup that money in the short term. And at the end of the day, Victoria is still one of the largest capital cities of the world, and holding a property there, whether it's an investment or an owner occupier, makes a lot of sense in the long term. Will the Victorian government make it difficult for investors? Absolutely. But if you hold one or two investment assets there, you can bear the cost. But if you hold 5 or 6, well, that's an entirely different conversation. So I hope this video has helped you. I hope this video has informed you of what is happening in Victoria. And if you have any comments down below, drop it in there, because this is going to be an interesting one to see how the next 12 months play out, especially with the state election around the corner. Oh yeah, and before I do go, if you are figuring out the best places to invest, jump in the private community where we discuss these things on a daily basis. The new laws, the best places to invest into, how a yield stacks up with certain properties. And if you need deal breakdowns or you just want to vent your frustrations about Jacinta Allen, jump in the private community, guys, and get the help you need, because this is the best property community in the entire country. So jump in and let's talk about your property goals. Till next time, thank you very much.